Welcome once again to the Record Player, everybody. Scott with you. Today we are pleased to be joined by a man who has been leading the way in Canadian country music since his breakthrough album started with a song in 2013. Since then, he's topped the Canadian charts three times with hits like Airwaves, A Few Good Stories, and my favorite, Drink About Me. He has since conquered Nashville, and he's just released a brand new album called What Is Life? Welcome to the Record Player, Brett Kissel.
Well, thank you. Thank you for a great introduction. Thank you for the welcome. And thank you for your time, Scott.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'm real good at the introductions. I like to build you up so you got nowhere to go. You don't want to leave too early. It's born and raised in Alberta. I know a few years ago you moved to Nashville. Are you back in Canada now, obviously, with the pandemic and everything?
Yeah, kind of an interesting turn of events. What had happened in March of 2020, a tornado went right through our neighborhood in Nashville.
Oh,
So
wow.
power was out, a lot of, not our property, but the entire neighborhood destroyed, called Germantown. So what my wife and I did, we said, well, this is a sign from the universe that instead of us living in a hotel for 2 or 3 weeks for power and everything to come back on in our neighborhood, it's an opportunity to go up and visit our family up in Alberta. So that's what we did. And then COVID happened.
And you couldn't leave.
And then the border closed, and then this, and then that, and then this, and we've been up here for 13 months, and we came up with carry-on luggage. We came up because we're like, we have a home in Alberta. Let's just go up to the Alberta house and let's chill for a couple weeks, visit our family, and then wow, things really do change. So I haven't been back to Nashville now in 13 months, but it's pretty crazy. I'm kind of thinking, as Canada flip-flops on decisions and what are we going to do and what's this and what's that? Can we do this? Can we do that? Well, you can do this, but you can't. Like, there's so much, division and whatever. I'm thinking, maybe I need to go back to Nashville and let Canada sort itself out again.
Do you think you're going to go back to Nashville when this is all over, or are you going to stay in Canada?
You know what? We've always split our time. We've loved being able to be nomadic and live on our bus when we're touring, live in Alberta during the summer, live in Nashville for the rest of the year, and split our time basically 40% Nashville, 30% the bus, 30% Alberta. It just kind of works that way. And our kids are really missing the travel because we got really good at it with a young little family. So hopefully those days come back really quick.
Well, we all hope so, definitely. You were real young when you started playing guitar and singing and performing. Your first album, your first major album, like major label album, was in 2013, I believe. But you had already done like four independent records from the time that you were like 12 or 13 years old, right?
That's right. And those independent records were, we'll call it wonderful tests, where we would test the market to see what worked or to see the power of my building brand. I didn't know exactly where I would fit in the world of country music, but being able to go back to the drawing board every single time, or learn from mistakes, or learn from past experiences, build on different things that I had done, was a wonderful advantage I think I had coming into the boardroom at Warner Music, being this guy in my early 20s who actually had a decade worth of experience and no fear going in to talk with the president of a record label, because I kind of knew the business. I knew how to sell records. I knew every venue in my home province, and mostly in across the prairies. I'd opened for acts like Dwight Yoakam. I'd opened for Loretta Lynn. I had toured with a bunch of the great Canadian acts like Aaron Pritchett and George Canyon and Emerson Drive. And I Steve Kane, my president, said that I seem to be the best kept secret in Canada, yet everybody in Alberta knew about me. So I was very lucky to have great experience going into that boardroom chasing a record deal.
Did you always know that it was country music? I mean, when you were growing up learning how to play guitar and you wanted to be a singer, did you always know it was country music, or was there a time that you wanted to be a rock star? You wanted to be Led Zeppelin? You wanted to...
Great question. And I read a lot of articles and listen to a lot of podcasts with a lot of other artists who would definitely dabble in other genres or started rock That's why they've got the tattoos. That's why they've got the earrings. That's why they've got all this stuff. And then they land on country music later. Yeah, that wasn't me. I was country through and through. I grew up on a cattle ranch. I listened to country music. I listened to records. I would study Johnny Cash and Marty Robbins. I loved Garth Brooks and George Strait. I wanted to be a country singer I felt the day I was born. Wow. There was nothing else. There was not going to be anything else. And so I'm grateful I had that focus. Looking back, I didn't realize I had that focus while I was in it. But looking back now, I was so grateful that as an 8-year-old, I was learning country songs. As a 12-year-old, I was writing country songs. This was me. This is all I ever wanted.
And you just listed off a whole great group of people. My next question was going to be, who were your influences growing up? But you just did that. And that's a great list. I mean, when I think of country music, like traditional country music, I think of Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings and people like that, not necessarily the new country.
I agree with you. And it kind of irks me a little bit. I guess it's a trigger I need to look at. But when I would be on Broadway, just throwing back a couple beers with my buddies at Tootsie's or at any of these bars, a young artist or someone my age would say, we're going to play a classic right now from year 2000, and it's Amazed by Lone Star. I'm like, hold it, that ain't a classic. Or they'll be like, we're going to go way back, play an old classic right now. It's called Chasing That Neon Rainbow by Alan Jackson. I'm like, hold it. That will become a classic, or maybe it's this version of classic, but the real classics, Rhinestone Cowboy by Glenn Campbell, Ring of Fire, Johnny Cash, Good Hearted Woman, Waylon Jennings, On the Road Again, Willie Nelson. Now that's some classics. But you know what's funny? I went on this rant one day backstage at the Opry with the Opry band that would back up the artist, and we're visiting. And I was put in my place very, very kindly, because they said, you need to understand that in our perspective, those aren't the classics. The real classics are I'm Moving On by Hank Snow. There's a Love Knot in My Lariat by Wilf Carter, or the song by Jimmy Rogers, or the Wabash Cannonball by Gene Autry. Those are the real classics, son. So everybody has their definition of classics. And maybe, just maybe, I'll get lucky enough, maybe in like the year 2050, somebody's going to be like, we're going to take you back to 2020. Brett Kissel, drink about me. Like, I don't know.
Canada has a long history, obviously, of country music. Terry Clark, Michelle Wright, George Fox, Paul Brandt. How has the country music scene in Canada changed since you've been a part of it?
I feel very lucky, and of course I'm biased, but I feel very lucky to be a part of the greatest era for Canadian country music. There have been great moments in each era or in each decade, but I feel that I am very much a part of, as a fan. I'll just talk as a fan, not as a singer, but of the greatest era of Canadian country music. You look at Dean Brody and his incredible songs. You look at High Valley, you look at Tennille Towns, you look at Lindsay Ell, you look at everything that Canadians are accomplishing in Nashville now. Look at Madeline Merlot writing a #1 song for Lady A in America. You look at all of these great records that are being set. You look at Canadians like Johnny Reid, who can go out and sell out a Saddle Dome in Calgary at 12 or 14,000 tickets on a Saturday. And then Sunday, Luke Bryan's going to come in and sell 12 or 14,000 tickets. We are in the greatest era for Canadian country music. And so how has it changed? We used to have a few great artists in each decade. You look at the 70s and 80s in Anne Murray, Dallas Harms, Ian Tyson, legends. You look at the 90s, well, Shania Twain, Paul Brandt, Charlie Major, Terry Clark. You look at the 2000s, but now you look at our generation right now, there are so many great acts. The Reclaws, Jade Eagleson, James Barker Band. These are all acts that can sell thousands of tickets, thousands of records, and everybody's getting #1s on radio. Like, if this isn't the golden era for Canadian country music, then I don't know what is.
And do you think it helps having the social media aspect of it, and the Apple Music and the Spotify and all that type of stuff?
The reason why that's a huge contributing factor is because it really eliminates the border between Nashville and Canada. People are able to record in Nashville, where so many of the greatest players and studios are. So many of us in Canada have an opportunity to write in the United States and get those tendencies that before we might have just written songs in our basement in Ottawa, or our basement in Calgary, or our basement in, I don't know, Prince George, BC. Whereas now we have access to this. And now that our music is out and it's very competitive, you can't tell the difference. Really, you can't, between a hit song from Jess Moskaluk or a hit song from Miranda Lambert. You can tell the difference in their voice, but not in their production. And that's a wonderful thing, that because of social media and because of the DSPs like Apple and Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Amazon, they're going to have a Thomas Rhett song right next to a Brett Kissel song. And so an American fan in Alabama or a Canadian fan in Alberta are going to be able to listen to both those songs back to back and not hear a sonic difference. That's a wonderful advantage for Canadian artists today.
That's awesome. I want to talk a bit. You're a huge hockey fan, and I'm a huge hockey fan. I hate to say it to you, but I'm a Canucks fan.
No,
I'm not proud of it this year, especially.
We were doing so good.
I know you liked
so
me until
good.
now. I'm not proud of it this year, especially, honestly. Trust me, but yeah, you got the gig doing the Oilers anthems before the games. You don't do it every night; it's kind of a recurring thing. But when you started doing that, you had the night where something happened technically, and the crowd started singing.
Yes, that memory, I think, is going to live on forever for me, and I think for all hockey fans.
I watched that game. I remember it. Yeah.
Well, it's very rare for an anthem malfunction to go viral for a positive reason.
Yeah.
I have had this fear that one day, some way, somehow, I was gonna mess up the words to the anthem. That's why so many acts and artists actually don't do anthems, because you just can't mess it up. So for me, when my mic didn't work, and there's a separate feed that goes to TV, so everyone on TV could hear me, but no one in the building could hear me. It was a very simple issue. I don't know what it was. Maybe someone just forgot to unmute me. I don't know. But I'm trying to figure it out, but everybody's looking and there's silence. So all I could do is step back, lift my fingers in the air, and conduct. That's all I could think about doing. And leave it to Edmonton, or I'll even say a broader stroke, Canadian hockey fans, to sing the American anthem as well as they did.
Yeah.
So when CNN and TMZ did interviews with me, it was so special that it wasn't because I botched the anthem. It was because Edmonton Oiler hockey fans actually saved me from hitting the ditch. So I'll never forget it.
You've done the anthem this year with no fans in the building. Probably similar to doing the drive-in shows and the online shows where you don't have an audience in front of you. How different was that?
Well, quickly, the drive-in shows I thought were going to be awkward, but they ended up being very unique. Mm-hmm. And so having honking horns is actually one of the wildest experiences of all. So I did that all summer, and I'm still riding that high. And now the World Juniors asked me in Team Canada if I would be able to, as they were the host city in Edmonton, if I would be able to sing the anthem, which is the first time ever a civilian has ever sang an anthem for the World Junior Hockey Championships, because it's usually just a recording, and you only play the home anthem once at the start of the tournament for the very first home game for Team Canada. So I was honored that I got that ask. So you go from the drive-ins where you've got hundreds and hundreds of cars honking their horns and blasting it out, to standing at center ice, 19,000 empty seats. No one sings along. Nobody cheers. It's an echoey introduction. Please welcome Brett Kissel. Sing the anthem, and nothing happens after that. I've never had a more awkward experience, a more eerie experience, and a more sad experience singing what I believe is the greatest song in the world in O Canada. And you sing it and you just don't get the response that you're used to. I cannot wait until we are at capacity crowds again in Rogers Place or Rogers Center or Rogers Arena or the Saddle Dome. I don't care where it is. I just can't wait to sing an anthem again for real people.
Yeah. Does Brett Kissel get to just go to an Oilers game, or do you have to buy tickets?
Well, both. I've been lucky. I mean, I've been able to, build a lot of or establish a lot of great friendships with some great players. Connor McDavid is a good friend. Leon Draisaitl's become a great friend. Mike Smith, our goalie, is a great friend. So they've been able to access, especially guys that don't necessarily live in the market or live from other places. I've been lucky that they will pass on, their friends and family tickets to me. So because of that, it's been really special. But also, I've been a season ticket holder since, 2002. I'm 12 years old. My dad put my brother and I on a list to buy season tickets. It took us 8 years. And so 2002 to 2010, I'm 20. Finally, my brother and I, we bought season tickets. So we don't want to lose that opportunity. So we bought season tickets. So we've got 4 tickets together. And so if I don't get free tickets, I'll just go sit in my season tickets.
Not being able to tour, obviously you get to spend more time at home with your kids and with your family. You doing the live stream and stuff like that, you've kept busy, but you also decided that you were going to do the new record. How much of what we've been through in the last year is a part of this new record? How much of an influence on the new album, writing wise, from a writing perspective?
Well, that's a great question. And there's a lot to unpack because in that question, because there are so many different emotions I was feeling over the last year that without question got into my head, got into my heart, my soul, and obviously came out on paper and then came out in this recording. The first few months of the pandemic, I was so frustrated. I was so down. I was so scared. There were so many different things that I was feeling. I didn't even want to pick up a guitar because all the momentum I had coming into 2020 was lost. All of the big moments opening for Eric Church, and I was going to tour with Zach Brown Band. We had a couple makeup dates with Garth Brooks in America, like in Vegas and Atlanta, and it was just all gone. So I just retreated to my farm. I did a whole hell of a lot of nothing. Granted, very happy with that time and that space, and I reconnected with Cecilia. I was able to be a 24/7 dad, and that was great. So of course, that's what the universe was forcing me to do. That's exactly what I was supposed to be doing.
Right.
Finally, when inspiration hit me and I had my first Zoom write, which I had canceled about a dozen, so I just wasn't feeling it. And I didn't want to just go in and write like a nothing song. I wrote with Eric Paslay, who wrote Barefoot Blue Jean Night and a bunch of big hits for other acts. He's a great artist in his own right in Nashville. And I would vent, and I was venting to him for the first 30 minutes. We were venting back and forth about the pandemic and the ups and the downs, the backs and the forth. What can you do? What can't you do? And I said, at least I'm lucky that I can go out to my farm and I feel like I can just kind of get grounded there. There's no roots in the city, but I can go back to my roots in the country and I could just get down to earth there. And he said, hold it. That's your title. So we wrote this song called Down to Earth. And we wrote that in a couple of hours on Zoom. And I really based the whole rest of my record around that song, but also around the process. And what I mean by that, Scott, is letting inspiration guide me and doing everything with intention, not just writing that Tuesday because I have to write, but if I have a great idea that's going to fit with where I'm at spiritually, I would write that song that day. So I didn't write a lot, but I wrote with a lot of meaning, a lot of focus, and putting a lot of attention onto the themes that I wanted to create. So the pandemic brought that out in a big way. And in that way, I'm actually grateful for it.
And the album, I mean, so far the response from the album's been awesome, right?
It's been phenomenal. Now you can look at it from a bunch of different angles. You can look at it from statistics. Yeah. You can look at it where it sat on Apple Music on the charts, which for me to be neck and neck with Taylor Swift the whole weekend, if flip flop, I'd be at the top, then she'd be at the top, then I'd be like I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, her people are looking at the Canadian charts and are saying, who the hell is this guy? And why don't we have number one secured yet? Granted, by the end of the weekend, of course she had it secured. She's Taylor Swift. But for me to be neck and neck with her was an amazing thing for me and my family, me and my team. So you can look at it statistically and say, where did we land on the charts? Or you can look at it from the point of view of these great conversations and getting compliments from people in media, the industry, my friends, getting texts from buddies saying, yo, I got your record and it's great. Like that, those compliments mean a lot to me.
If you had to pick, if you were having a conversation with someone who didn't necessarily know your music and you had to pick a song to represent you from your catalog, what would it be?
Great question. I said this on Instagram the other day, that Make a Life Not a Living is the most true and authentic song that I think I could have ever recorded, because if you have 2 minutes and 47 seconds to get to know me, you just go line by line and read the lyrics, or you watch my music video on YouTube and subscribe to my channel, you're going to see that. Or you listen to the song on the radio, you'll be like, all right, I know exactly who he is. I've never been able to put that into a song before. And so, yeah, that's my business card from now on. Brett, tell me a little bit about yourself. Well, go watch this song on YouTube and then come back to me in 2.5 minutes and you'll know.
My favorite, I'm not going to pretend to be the biggest country guy in the world, but my favorite country music is always the stuff that really is about, drinking, partying, having fun, being on a farm, being out on the water, that kind of thing. You've got that down to a T. I mean, that really is something that you're great at, but you can also turn around and do the ballads and that kind of stuff. So your palette when it comes to songwriting is quite widespread.
Well, thank you. And a lot of that, to be honest, is by accident. I'd love to say that it's by design, but because I just let the song come out of me the way that it was meant to that day, I feel I've really been able to build a great body of work, something that I am very proud of, looking back at a lot of the songs with a lot of heart and soul, and a lot of songs that, I mean, are truly just about the moment right now. How much beer can you drink? How big of a party can we have? And how can we make this one of the best nights ever? I've got songs for both sides. So I'm proud of that. And I'm grateful that you identified that too.
It's been a pleasure having you with us on The Record Player, Brett. I know you got a lot to get to today. You're probably doing a lot of promo for the new record. I appreciate you being with us. Best of luck with the new album, and hopefully we can talk to you later down the road.
I'd like that very much. Thank you for these great questions, but more so just a great conversation. I hope you and your family and your whole team at The Record Player, I hope this thing takes off. I think it's a really great platform. And I think you're going to be very, very, very successful with this in the coming years. So if you have enough space for me in the coming years, you can count on another interview. But it's going to be up to you guys to be so famous.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the kind words, man.